Employee Benefits Security Administration, and I'm here today to give you a little bit of information about your health benefits and retirement benefits in the wake of job loss. The Employee Benefits Security Administration is an agency in the U.S. Department of Labor that enforces many provisions of the Employee Retirement Income Security Act, better known as ERISA. ERISA regulates employee benefits sponsored by private sector employers and employee organizations. All right, I'm going to start with some of the health benefit options available to you. First is your special enrollment opportunity under HIPAA, some information under COBRA, individual coverage, and state risk pool. These are just general options that are available to you for health insurance, and we're going to go over them one at a time in more detail. So we're going to start with your HIPAA special enrollment right. If any of you have a spouse that has group health coverage available to them with their employer, perhaps your spouse was covered under their plan, you were covered under the plan with U.S. Cellular, or perhaps you and your spouse and any children were just covered with U.S. Cellular, you would have what's called a special enrollment right to request enrollment in that spouse's plan at this time. You would need to request special enrollment with the spouse plan within 30 days of your loss of eligibility for coverage with U.S. Cellular, and then that coverage will become effective on the first of the month following the request. Some general other information about HIPAA that you want to be aware of is when your health coverage does end with U.S. Cellular, your insurance company should be providing you what's called a certificate of creditable coverage. What that can be used for is you could provide that to your next group health plan to offset any kind of pre-existing condition exclusionary period that new plan might try to impose upon you. When you are joining a new health plan, that plan can impose a 12-month period for current enrollees or 18 months for late enrollees where they're not going to cover pre-existing conditions. However, if you do provide that certificate, it's going to offset that exclusionary period. Something to note is that if you have a break in coverage of 63 days or more, that means from your last day of coverage with U.S. Cellular to your first day of coverage on the new plan, if there's a break of 63 days or more, that certificate does not have to be honored, and then you can be subject to pre-existing condition exclusion. Just a general definition of a pre-existing condition so that you're aware, pre-existing condition is something that you would have sought treatment for in the 6 months prior to joining the plan. So aside from special enrollment and general information about HIPAA, another option available to you to continue your health coverage is under COBRA. COBRA is a federal law that allows you to continue the health coverage you have currently with U.S. Cellular. It includes your medical coverage, your dental coverage, and vision coverage if you have it. COBRA is a law that applies to plans in both the private and public sectors, and it applies to employers that have 20 or more employees. So a little bit of information about what your COBRA benefits will entail. COBRA is continuation, again, of the same coverage that you had with U.S. Cellular for up to 18 months. You can be charged up to 102% of the cost of the coverage. So if you were having premiums withheld from your paycheck as your employee portion, you would have to continue to have those pay that portion. You would also have to pay the employer portion plus a 2% administrative charge, which brings you to the full 102% of the cost of coverage. The employer would have the obligation to provide to you what's called a COBRA election notice within 44 days of your last day of coverage with U.S. Cellular. That notice is going to give you a lot of specific information such as how much the coverage costs, what exactly is 102%, where you send your payments. Once you receive that notice, you have 60 days to decide whether or not you want to take the COBRA, and then another 45 days after you mail back in your election paperwork to make your initial payment. Something to keep in mind is COBRA is very retroactive in nature, so your coverage is going to terminate at a specific date up to the employer per their plan rules. Some plans, your health coverage ends the last day you work. Others, it ends the last day of the month in which you terminate employment. COBRA is going to pick up the very next day so that you don't have a break in coverage. So once you elect to make the payment, it's retroactively reinstated. Some other options I want to bring to your attention for health coverage is individual coverage. You can always contact insurance companies directly yourself on the open marketplace to see if they're willing to extend you an individual policy. Another option is the state risk pool. Here in Illinois, it's known as the ICHIP program. You could contact them for information about eligibility with ICHIP. And then there's another CHIP program, the Children's Health Insurance Program. Families with uninsured children may be eligible for health insurance with the Children's Medicaid or Children's Health Insurance programs in the state of Illinois. So that's something that you want to discuss with the Illinois Department of Insurance as far as your eligibility for those programs. So that's all the options that I have to discuss about the health side. Now we're going to move on to retirement benefits. Just some general points. If you do participate in a pension plan or a 401k plan with U.S. Cellular, you want to make sure that you keep the plan informed of your address. You want to make sure that you're still getting information from the plan on at least an annual basis, any quarterly statements, so they know how to reach out to you. You also want to be aware of benefit payment rules, at what point you become eligible to take those benefits. Under ERISA, plans may require participants to reach age 65 or some other normal retirement age that the plan designates before you can begin to collect those benefits. If a participant is entitled to an earlier distribution, it would be according to the plan rules. So another name for your plan rules, summary plan description, it's a document that you should have gotten when you first joined these plans. So you want to make sure that you still have a summary plan description with you before you leave employment, so you have information pertaining to when you become eligible to take those benefits. Some other options regarding your benefits, you can either keep your funds in the plan and keep in touch, make sure that you're getting those statements, or you can take the payments, either a direct distribution or a rollover to an IRA, or perhaps your next employer's plan if the new employer's plan allows it. Something that I want to mention is if you do elect a lump sum payment and you don't transfer the money to another retirement account, you could potentially owe a tax penalty if you're under age 59 and a half and you don't meet certain exceptions. In addition, you might have less to live on during your retirement if you take that money directly. So just some key pieces of information to keep in mind. You have the option whether you want to roll over, take a direct distribution, or you can always keep the funds in the plan. So this is the information that I have to provide to you today. Our 800 number is listed on this last slide. In addition, all the information that I've discussed with you is available in a publication that we have. It's called Retirement and Healthcare Coverage, Questions and Answers for Dislocated Workers. The publication can be found at our website at that link listed. You can also contact our 800 number and request that a hard copy publication be mailed to you if you'd rather. Additionally, if you have additional questions after today that come to your mind, feel free to give our 800 number a call. So at this time, if anybody has any questions, I'll answer those. Okay, it doesn't look like any questions are coming through. So again, if you think of questions after today, feel free to call our 800 number.